Oh, man. Where are we? Where is this place? Bearclaw, you have those directions from Airbnb?
I had to map quest this. It wasn't on the GPS. I don't know. Make a turn up here, maybe?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there it is. All right, we're heading in the right direction.
This place is a piece of junk.
Yeah, I don't know. This place does leave something to be desired.
Hey, listen, we're just happy the insurance check cleared after that little firework mishap.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this place has a nice tire swing for you to relax in, and Sandy sends her regards.
God, too soon. Well, welcome to the Mad Bin in the Woods.
Ew.
Wow.
The door farted.
So you are afraid of something else. We all go a little mad sometimes. You don't know what death is. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Mad Bin in the Woods. This is our episode 18 on the 2011 The Cabin in the Woods. My name is Kevin, and we're just going around the Mad Bin, looking around, trying to see what kind of amenities we have with this place. Hey, Dan, what are you doing over there?
Kevin, I've been rummaging through the cabinets here, just trying to find us some snacks or whatever, and there's cabinets are just riddled with this stuff called the stuff. I mean, it's nothing but the stuff in here. There's chocolate stuff, there's strawberry stuff. I'm just reading labels here. Smooth and creamy. It's low calorie and delicious. And it kills hunger.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Bearclaw.
What's going on? What's this? It's like look at what I found over here. Like, it's this bag full of it's got these black feathers in it and leather pants and this book of, it looks like poetry. Oh, this is awful poetry. It can't rain every.
Hey guys, look over here.
Logan.
I got some bottles of sherry over here. What is this? Who was here last?
Oh, wait a minute. Before you open that, hang on. There's this duffel bag right here. This must be a welcome
What's
gift.
in there? Yeah.
Let's try to
They
open
must have
this
left
right
that
here.
for us.
Wait, what is it? A hockey mask?
It's summertime.
Editor's note. Of course they had to choose the most cliche way to die. I'll never get to see what the stuff can do. He was holding it in his hand.
I know that there are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw were all born in the 80s, while my son Logan was born in the early 2000s. This is the Clash of the Generations. Now, before we get in the episode, I want to plug some of our stuff and where to find us. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on your favorite audio platform. Please rate our show 5 stars if you'd be so kind. It really helps us with the algorithms. We also have a great Instagram account. Please go follow us at mouths.of.madness. We also have a YouTube channel where we have another special podcast on there called Straight Jacket Talk. And we just recorded an episode on Friday the 13th, 2009. That's the one from Platinum Dunes.
the good one.
Wow.
Oh, go check it out. See what we thought of that. Finally, we have an email address. Please email Bearclaw at thepaddedroom@outlook.com and let him know if you've ever vacationed at a cabin in the woods before.
Yeah, and definitely let me know if you found any haunted objects or any haunted vacation stories. You never quite know what's happened at these vacation houses you're staying at. Was the person before you sane? You never know. So why don't you send old Bearclaw a little note there about your vacation hauntings.
Sounds spooky, Bearclaw.
Oh, I know
Also-
what people have been at the vacation houses. You just look at the
Well, you just don't want
rooms.
to blacklight a lot of those vacations.
Yeah,
Send-
That's where the real horror
Send
lies.
all of your blacklight pictures to Bearclaw at the pattern
for your
room
own
at
for your own
outlook.com.
safety and sanity.
From
do
your
not
own
blacklight
house.
those Airbnbs.
Yes. Ugh.
Well, it's time to embrace the madness. What are we watching? What are we reading? What are we listening to or gaming? For me, I've actually been checking out a new horror podcast called the Hellraisers Podcast. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook. They are all on the Spotify and the other audio platforms, but they're really good. They're a brother and sister that review horror movies like we do, and they have some pretty big horror movies they reviewed, like the Terrifier movies. They've done Halloween. They've done the Maxine, X. So it's a really good listen. I really definitely recommend you check them out. And also, like I said, we just reviewed Friday the 13th, 2009 for Straight Jacket Talk. So I just watched that. It's been a moment since I've seen that one, and it was a really good time. If you haven't seen it, I think it's worth a watch because it's a fun movie.
I'll tell you, I know we're gonna be doing Friday the 13th. I have not seen a Friday the 13th yet. I am
Neither
coming
have I.
into this
I'm excited for both of you.
I'm coming into this whole thing brand new.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like
I
a
can't
new,
wait.
Like a new car. And we're going to crash right into a tree.
We're going full steam ahead.
It's just gonna wreck the Cadillac.
All
of the
gas, no
franchise.
brake.
Oh my goodness. All right, Dan, what about you?
So I have been really diving into Nicolas Cage horror movies. I feel like
yeah.
I feel like they could be a subgenre of to themselves.
You really
yes.
Dude, I think you need a list on Letterboxd for Nick Cage horror movies.
I mean, the man has a breadth of horror that is impressive. Like, I don't think any actors can really. I mean, he's gone Lovecraftian, he's gone slasher, he's gone
very
like,
indie.
short of A24.
Yeah, I really would like to put this out there that I feel like it'd be a cool episode just to cover the Cage horror
Cage.
universe.
Oh,
The Cage
yeah.
horror universe.
Nicolas Cage.
The CHU.
The CHU. But the movies that I did catch, I caught Longlegs this past week. I saw it with my niece, and I saw on Shudder this other movie he did called Arcadian. Longlegs to me was like the better of the two. Like, it's a great catch the killer movie. Arcadian's kind of more like A Quiet Place,
Yeah.
but the monsters have all their senses.
Yeah.
Which I imagine they would, right?
Yeah.
You're a monster. You should.
But Nicholas, there couldn't have been any other actor that could have played the long-legged serial killer besides Nicolas Cage. And I was listening to the director talk about the Longlegs movie and Nicolas Cage's method for becoming that killer, and it's all inspired by his mother.
Wow.
So I think that's a fun.
I guess that's
pretty funny.
I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah.
But pretty good. I would recommend checking them out. Also saw the Deadpool Wolverine movie.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun, mindless fun.
Yeah.
If you like
Yeah.
love letter to all the Fox Fox comic book movies, real fun. But that's what I've been getting into. What do you got, Bearclaw?
So I too have been on a little bit of a Cage quest here.
We got Nicolas Cage.
I only saw Mandy though, but that was one of the movies, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that movie or my opinions on that movie because I think there's a lot that needs to be talked about there. But that was Mandy was pretty awesome. I also saw Bone Tomahawk, which I hadn't seen before.
Movie.
That's a great movie, and Abigail, which was also a pretty good movie. And then so I've actually been watching a lot of horror movies, and then the last one that I saw was Humane on Shudder, which is kind of a Shudder exclusive. Shudder, great service, but Humane, boy, that is a terrifying kind of scenario that they kind of set up there. Very Brave New World, but very much darker than that. Definitely check that movie out if you're looking for something a little different, but that is chilling to the bone.
It's also a David Cronenberg movie.
Yeah,
so
it's
for
also
anybody who loves Cronenberg,
Yeah.
right up your alley.
Editor's note, it is a Caitlin Cronenberg movie, not David.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Logan, what have you been getting into?
I watched Gone in 60 seconds.
It's staying under
Fast
the
Time at
cage.
Ridgemont High. That's a real horror movie. No, man, I really haven't watched anything. I did watch the new season of Umbrella Academy. That was,
Not a fan of it. Huh?
no, their writers were terrible and the creators a whole problem. I did finish House of the Dragon. I really liked that. It was a great ending to the season.
Really? I've heard a lot of people are mixed
and
on it.
I was just talking to my aunt about it, like, because she's a big Game of Thrones fan, and she was talking about how she didn't really like it, but, like, the episode before it kind of was the finale to me, and that was kind of just the last episode was kind of like the first episode of the next season.
It kind of like concludes the climax of the season.
Yeah, but
puts
like
the bow on the end of the season. Yeah.
it kind of put a bow to everything that happened and kind of sets you up for what's to come in the next season,
Right.
because there's a big battle at the end, and you know this next season's gonna be like this huge ferocious like war that's to come. So like sets it up good. I don't like to say this because I always get hate for it, but like Game of Thrones doesn't really set their battles up as well as I would hope they would. Sometimes they get it right. Like the first couple, like the first two battles in Game of Thrones, I always loved. But after that, it just like, they kind of were just like,
Are you talking about the shows or the
yeah,
book?
the show, the book sets it up perfectly.
Yeah, I was gonna
the
say
sh-
the book does a great job.
After season 4, it just gets worse and worse.
Battle of Blackwater, I think, was like the best.
Yeah,
right?
like
With the
there's no
wildfire blowing the
And-
boats up in the bay.
Yeah, I'm still a stickler for. I love two bastards, Battle of the Two Bastards. I always like that one.
That's a great one too.
That one's very well set up. You know, I'm just a big Game of Thrones fan. I always like Game of Thrones. Been into that since COVID days. And then, as well as that, you know, I've been playing some video games. I've been playing Super Mario Wonder. Been really enjoying that. I've been playing that solo the last couple of days and have really enjoyed it. Like, it's been very fun, as well as I've also been getting into Last of Us as well. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Last of Us, great game.
Yes, it is.
I made the mistake of playing that during the pandemic, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll get you.
That was a mistake, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Without any further ado, grab a beer, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched The Cabin in the Woods from 2011. It was directed by Drew Goddard and also written by Drew Goddard with Joss Whedon. And they are known from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so
People really love that show. I've never really
Buffy's
watched
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was like big when we were younger too.
it. It was big, but it just
watched
never
it.
caught my.
No, that show's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that show.
Oh, big Buffy supporter.
Yeah. Well, the lead actress, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched The Craft a lot, but there wasn't. Or no, what was the one with the three sisters there?
Oh, Charmed.
Charmed, yeah.
Oh, Charmed. Yeah. I understand that.
that got a look or two every now and then.
Yeah.
Dang, we could have a whole episode on how women and horror, but horror shows.
Oh, yeah.
The original Buffy movie was awesome.
Yeah, it
With, like,
was.
Paul
Rubens.
Paul Rubens as like the lead vampire henchman.
Oh, yeah.
and
Might have to be an episode, either a
on the
straight jacket
original
or
Buffy, yeah.
mouse covers.
Christy Swanson.
I'll be there.
Yeah, wasn't what's his name in it too?
Jason Priestley. I
Yeah.
think,
Editor's note, it was Luke Perry.
I'm like trying to think about that. Wow, that brought me back.
Been a minute. It's been a minute since we've seen that OG Buffy.
yeah.
Well, The Cabin in the Woods has an actor we've been well associated with, Chris Hemsworth, who, you know, is Thor, I guess.
He was filming Thor at
Yeah.
like around the same time as this.
Yes.
This was filming in 2009 and the Thor movie was filming in 2010.
And they both came out in the same year, 2011.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy.
It was a good year.
Busy.
He sounded
year
like
for him.
Thor, like in this movie. Did you ever pick that up? Like he sounded so much like Thor. He didn't sound like himself at all.
Sounded like he was trying really hard to have an American accent in this movie.
yeah, it did.
What is this, a book?
What are these? What are you doing with these?
Give me another. He was supposed to be the smart guy, and he ended up being like the dumbest guy.
That's because because they loaded
Well,
him up
yeah,
on
okay.
testosterone.
We'll talk about
Good
it.
thing.
I don't think he was necessarily smart to begin with.
Before we get into the review, Cabin in the Woods had a budget of $30 million.
Really?
Do you know how much it grossed at the box office?
I always lowball these things, but this was a big movie. I don't know. I'm
Going
gonna go
highball.
150.
I'm gonna go significantly smaller than that. I'm gonna go like a nice 45 mil.
I'm disqualifying myself because I accidentally saw how much it made.
Oh,
Dan, I appreciate your honesty.
you could have just cheated.
Integrity.
We
man.
like honesty here.
Cabin in the Woods made $66.5 million. So, Bearclaw, you went a little high there, but that's okay.
How?
I thought it would do better than that.
I thought it would
So
do
it only
worse.
doubled its money, huh?
But it had a good cast, so maybe I should have went a little bit higher.
You know, I didn't see this in theaters because I think what year did that movie Cabin Fever come out?
2011. I said the
2011?
same thing, bro.
I don't think the only reason I didn't see this movie is nobody that I had known had saw it. And like it was like it looked too similar to Cabin Fever, and I was like, I have no desire to learn about it.
Too many cabin
Too many
movies.
cabin.
the hell is
It
up
just
with these
kind of
cabins?
like I think that those two movies releasing the same year did neither one beneficial.
It was an Armageddon Deep Impact scenario.
yeah, exactly. It's like
Deep Impact.
Deep impact.
they cancel
back.
each other out.
And then 10
Yeah.
years later, they made another Cabin movie with Dave Bautista.
Oh yeah, knock
Boy,
on
that
the
was
cabin
not
door.
gonna Cabin. They also did a remake of Cabin Fever, right?
They may have.
Yeah, I think there's two.
I
Cabin
actually never
Fevers.
saw the original Cabin
Yeah,
Fever.
the
either.
original
Oh, man.
Cabin Fever just looked so bad it dissuaded me from seeing this movie.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, The Cabin in the Woods has a 92% critic score and a
Wow.
74% audience score. So this is certified fresh.
I'm surprised the audience score is so low.
I'm surprised the critics score is so
I was
high.
about to say, the critic score, I would have expected like a 70 at most.
Yeah.
Critics don't really like horror movies as
Yeah,
much.
this one they seem to like.
I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good cast, so that's probably why.
Now, this was Dan's pick for an episode. So, Dan, why did you choose The Cabin in the Woods for us to review?
So my picks, just for the audience, are my favorite horror movies of what I'm referring to as the millennial era of horror, spanning from 2000 to 2013, which it's not a particularly good time for horror, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like a major studio seemed only interested in remakes and franchising the genre's strongest assets to the point of like no return on their investment.
Sounds familiar.
Well, you know, and I agree with you on a lot of that. I was looking, one of the things that I thought about this movie is like this movie in the context of its time.
Yeah.
You know, like what came before it. And
This is like, yeah, like this, to me, like this movie, and like there's like a couple of others, like from like the 2011 to 2014 period. I like to like, it's like a nascent period in horror where like it leads up to like where we are now.
right.
Like, and it all resulted from big studio productions just failing to churn out any sort of like
well, around
creative or like
yeah.
original ideas or content. Everything was just formulaic and churned out for a buck.
Well, you start seeing like when you're looking at the movies that came before this, because that's what I was kind of curious. Because I almost see this movie as very much a turning point, like you
Yes.
said. You look at the movies before that came out, and I'll pull up a list here. You see like all of the sequel numbers are starting to rise. Like you're getting to the 4s and 5s, and 3s.
Paranormal Activity 6, Saw 10.
like Quarantine 2, Terminal, like
Bob
you know,
Iger
you
would not
get
be
your
our fan.
Paranormal Activity 2, and like you're seeing a lot of these like low, even like The Descent Part 2. You're seeing even like low budget things getting sequels and like added onto, and you know you're starting to see a great deal of unoriginality coming out of the studio system. So I noticed the exact same thing, Dan.
Yeah, and so like watching this, and I didn't see it in theaters. I said the same thing when I saw the trailers. Like, I'm not going to give this my time, my attention, whatever. It took a coworker at the time who was like, "Have you seen this movie?" I'm like, "No. Why would I see this movie? It looks like it's like the most plainest, like generic horror movie." Oh no, it's not. It plays like that. You need to actually see it. I'm not going to tell you what happens. You need to watch it though. And so then I was just like, whatever. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. And then it just blew my mind. Like, it was like a shock to my system. Like, kind of like what we were saying after getting beaten to death by like how phoned in and formulaic that genre had become. It's a unique film that stands out, and it has something both good and bad to say about the horror genre. And I would say the good is for the fans and the bad is for the people who create them. Like, I don't know. That's kind of like why I chose this movie, as I feel like it is. It's like a catalyst for what we have now. Like, it's the formation of and renewing of the genre.
I kind of see it as that too. Like, I really do, because I feel like the movie is critical of the movies of the past, because it's saying how everything has become this ritual or this procedure, and it's not, of course they're not going to make the right decisions, but it's just, because we gas them, or like, and well, it's just, if it's not this monster, it'll be another monster, but it'll be a monster, and there's this procedure, and we have to go through the procedure, and it becomes very corporate, because that's what we're on. Scary Movie 3 by this point in our history. So procedure has become what it is about. So it's very, like, I think it's awesome how it's critical of that, or recognizes how it's kind of become this very corporate procedural thing, horror, this thing that is supposed to be beyond control, beyond.
It's so dripping with allegory for how like the movie industry picks and chooses its what's going to be a movie.
Right.
I would take 70 Scary Movie. Like, that movie's so awesome. I love every one of them. Ghostface is the best part, though. That one is so good.
I like some of the Scary Movies. I think this movie is a very original horror movie in, like you said, in this kind of era where there wasn't much originality. What I want to know is, what are your overall thoughts on The Cabin in the Woods? Because I do want to get into a bunch of themes in this movie, because there are a ton of, I think themes we can kind of pull apart.
So much to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot. But what did you think of the movie? Was it a fun watch, Bearclaw? What do you think?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was a fun watch. Like I said, it got confused with Cabin Fever, but then I saw a weird YouTube video about all the monsters that were in it that just randomly came up on my feed, and I was like, wait, that's what it's about? And then that kind of sparked my interest in seeing what it was all about.
Oh, so you had like a little, not spoiler, but like an insight.
Spoiler, to be honest with you, a little spoiler of like what's going on. But then watching the movie, I was just like, oh, this is brilliant. This is, this is like, it's so much fun, and the acting is very good, and it's got some of my favorite actors in it. I mean, I love Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins.
Yes.
Like, they make every scene that they're in this movie, and frankly, in most movies, I'm a huge Richard Jenkins fan. I like
boats and hoes.
I like his work in Step Brothers. I like his. I think in every movie that he's been in, I like his. In Bone Tomahawk, I thought he was very good. He was one of the big people in Bone Tomahawk as the deputy there, Chicory, I think. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie, and I really enjoyed its criticism of horror at the time. And I even recognized it at the time as that, because I was like, by then they were on like their 14th Hellraiser or something. Like, it had just everything had gone so far from like feeling authentic, and it really recognized that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie, and thought the visual effects were good, and the camera work was good. So yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about it.
Nice. Logan, how about you? Is this your first watch of The Cabin in the Woods?
Not really, but kind of. I did watch it during COVID, but I think I repressed a lot of COVID, so I didn't remember anything about this movie, so I might not have watched it. It's like
so this played like a first watch.
Yeah,
right?
It's like a first watch. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, every character felt very fresh except for one, but we'll talk about him. I love a nice twist like this where like some things just like take a while to like understand, and like, with most movies I always like to like decipher what it all means. I think I got like the big plot like right away. Like once everything was going on, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
you did when we watched it together. You picked up on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's not really hard to get. past. It's a big.
But some of the nuance of it was tough, right? Like, did you know about like the ancient stuff and like the Lovecraftian twist at the end was very surprising for me.
I knew that was happening.
He had guessed like about like the sacrifice. He really was picking up on it pretty intuitively.
I've watched a lot of movies. No, it was really good. I mean, for me, my only like big thing was just it didn't feel like there was a big antagonist throughout this movie. Like, yes, they were fighting like zombies and stuff, but all of it was very like laid out, and everything felt like, okay, this has to happen because I knew the sacrifice, so all these people had to die, but like it never really felt like anything crazy. Like it always felt very like.
Well, let me ask you a question. You mentioned antagonist. Who do you think is the antagonist in this movie?
Well, Sigourney Weaver is like the big like.
Do you think she's the antagonist or the protagonist?
Well, yeah, she tried to kill a guy.
Well, you know what? I have a
like, yes, if you want to say like, oh, those scientist guys are good people because they're trying to save the world, yeah, okay, but they could go about it in a much different way.
I want to get into this in a minute because like I think there is a good discussion.
Yeah,
and I want to ask what your opinions are on that.
Overall, I think it's just a great movie. I really like the cast. The scientist team and Marty really carried. Marty was awesome. He was like the Shaggy of this whole thing. Holden was a Scooby-Doo.
Dan, now has this movie changed at all from when you saw it years ago? Like,
no, it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This is a treat.
You know
this
what?
Is awesome.
Talking about the twist really quick. Did you guys, your first watch, did you pick up on what was going on, or because I remember mine and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like
I'm in your boat, Kevin.
Yeah.
I didn't see it all coming together like it did, and I definitely didn't see the movie ending like it did.
Yeah.
And nor could I imagine a more perfect ending for this movie than the ending that it had. But I know some people are very critical of that ending, but I'm a lover of this in its original form.
I was just saying about the twist, and when you first watched this, right?
Yeah.
Were you picking up on what the twist was, that this is not just a cabin full of kids getting killed by, you know, whatever is coming for them? Like there's a greater, I think, evil or whatever that, you know.
So so when I was watching this, it didn't give me the impression that I needed to like pay close attention.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, again, it's set up kind of like a generic horror movie. I mean, they have like the guys in the beginning or whatever, but in my head, it's like, oh, okay, like at some point, these two different storylines are going to converge at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know how we're getting there, but I'm pretty excited about what I'm watching and where it's going.
Yeah, like it had your interest. I actually, when I first watched this movie, and I remember this to this day, when they showed at the beginning them in the office, you know, bullshitting about the child locks or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't even know if this whole fertility thing's going to work. She screwed in these little jobbies where he can't even open the drawers.
And then what's her name, Jill, comes up to them and tells them, you know, about Japan, right? Like they were maybe not going to be able to do it. I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait a minute. What movie am I watching here?
Yeah.
Like,
You blink and you miss it.
like I'm like, wait.
And like you saw the screens from the other countries, and you're like, wait, what's going on? Like,
I'm like, wait, this is supposed to be the cabin in the woods. It's in the title.
Yeah.
And we're in this office building. I'm very confused.
I remember
about what's
being
going
so
on.
delightfully like that it wasn't the cabin fever movie. Like I remember being so delightfully just engaged with the movie.
Yeah. I think this movie does have you, you know, engaged throughout because you do want to see what's next and how, like you said, like, are these two different storylines coming together? What's going on here? Because we do have the kids. They introduce the kids. We get the setup where they go into the cabin, but we get that shot of that bird flying right into that.
And
that's when I
force
knew.
field.
That's when I knew.
And that's when it gives you a little indication.
I completely missed that.
Yeah.
Like completely missed
Yeah.
the bird.
Yeah, no, that's when you know that something is amiss there.
Well, I thought it was like virtual reality or something.
Yeah, you
like
kept
that.
saying virtual reality, like they were controlling their world virtually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
But I
too.
mean, lo and behold, they were being watched much before. There's that operative on the outside.
Yes,
They were
yeah.
being watched for.
Yeah,
a
they're
long-
being watched by like
everything
frickin'
was
Batman.
rigged. Their
Hair dye was
hair dye made them dumber.
Yes, how we're slowing down cognition.
I don't know.
The hair dye.
Dumb blonde. Very
they
artistic.
tried to spike the weed.
Yeah, apparently that didn't work out.
It made him better. I'm gonna go read a children's book.
I want to get into a big question I have right away because we touched on this in our opening statements. Who are we supposed to be rooting for in this?
No
movie?
one.
Yeah, I think this is like, in my mind, this is like the Marvel Endgame being like the real protagonist. If you look at the story structure,
No, don't tell me it's
the real
Thanos.
protagonist is Thanos.
No, it's
right?
not. He's trying to kill
Yes.
half of humanity.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well,
He's trying to kill half
this
of
is
humanity.
the discussion to be
Go
had.
be a flag smasher.
Specifically
But-
in the cabin in the woods, though, like because the purpose of these kids being killed the way they
It's to
are,
save humanity.
right? It's to save
Thanos
humanity, to
isn't
please the
trying to
gods,
save
right?
humanity.
To please the ancient ones.
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, we're set up to really, want these kids to survive. It's a horror movie structure, basic horror movie structure. We want this. We want especially Dana. We want Marty. He's a good guy.
Marty,
right?
from the second I met him, I was like, if they kill off Marty, I'm walking away from this movie.
You see, I didn't feel that deep of a connection with the kids. And I think it was almost intentional where they're supposed to kind of fall into that. But I got to be honest with you, I felt more of a deeper connection with Sitterson and Hadley as like the scientists. I see them as very much the protagonists of the movie. Like they're trying to achieve
Sitterson, yes.
they're trying to
They're both
achieve this
together.
one thing.
No.
And there's all these people, and it's like, yes, it's difficult, but we got to do it to save humanity. And if we don't, then we know for a fact that these ancient things are going to bust up and destroy humanity. So we have to achieve this goal in a time-sensitive window of sacrificing these kids. It's a dirty job, and nobody wants to do it. Look, the Japanese folks were going to sacrifice those 9-year-old little girls before they all got together.
Yeah,
and sang that
exactly. They're
wonderful
not the
song.
protagonists, man. They're not the protagonists. If anyone
But
is,
they're-
Sitterson is.
They're doing it to save humanity.
I'm just saying, from the moment I met them, I knew they weren't the protagonists, but I knew I was going to be like liking them because they were very likable people. My only thing is there's a moment where I realized they're not the protagonists, and it's at the very end when they're trying to save their butts and get away from all those monsters. Because then I'm like, okay, so you're just going to go run away in a corner or something. And then Sitterson got stabbed, and then he was like, kill him. And I'm like, okay, so now you're just trying to kill people in your last final moments. No, like, hey.
Well, no,
No.
he was saying to kill him because it
Yeah,
was
I know.
saved.
I don't like that we're painting the scientist guys as the good guys. Like, they're trying to kill people. They're betting on people's lives and betting on different monsters to go and kill them.
Well, that was to alleviate the seriousness.
Just people letting off steam. This job isn't easy, however those clowns may behave.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not betting on these different monsters to go and kill kids. Like, that's not fun to me. Like, and then they were like, okay, we're gonna make we're gonna make this look like a porno and bring all these people into the room to watch this girl have sex before she's killed. Like, it's just a lot of stuff.
They made this clear in the movie that they can't just, kill them or like just shoot them, bring them to a firing range and shoot them as a sacrifice. It has to be like an entertaining thing. Like, Sitterson says at one point, no, they have to make the choice of their own free will. Otherwise, the system doesn't work.
It's like the Harbinger. It's this creepy old fuck. Practically wears a sign, you will die. Why do we put him there? The system. They have to choose to ignore him, and they have to choose what happens in the cellar.
Like, there's a system, and yes, it's fucked up. Like, I don't think anybody's arguing that, but they have to play by these rules, or else you see at the end, giant flame hand comes out of Earth and kills humanity.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only two people I'm rooting for during this movie, and it's Marty and then the security guy. Those are the only two people. That poor security guy who was asking them questions. Did he know what he was getting himself into?
He was supposed to be like the foil. He was supposed to be like.
He said he was
and then he got
briefed
killed in like 2 seconds. The second those monsters came out, he was dead.
Dan, what do you think? Who should we be rooting for here? Is there a right answer? Because maybe there isn't a right answer.
I don't think there is a right answer, and I would say that the power structure governing the scenario is really the evil. At the end of the day, it's the elder gods that make us play this awful game.
And what if the awful game? I was thinking about this on the way here. What if the awful game was actually like to make sure we were ready to face them? Because if they didn't have the sacrifices, it meant that people were like resourceful and figured stuff out to like the point that like maybe humanity is a possible threat to them. So then they go after them.
That's a good point. I found something interesting too with it. We're showing the different monitors with the other countries that failed, and each scenario seemed to be specific to their region. Like what is a good horror movie, or like the horror genre attached to their country, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Japan with the ring.
They put the spirit into a frog. That was the best. That's so funny.
That is one of my all-time favorite scenes in a movie.
When
he's
cursing
just with the little girls all like,
screw you,
and then they're like, in America, what's his name there?
Sitterson's just watching the
like,
screen.
Fuck
and he's
you,
just like,
fuck you.
Stewing,
Yeah, stewing at
just
the
sitting
screen.
there stewing like he's such a good actor.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck
And there's these sweet little girls, the happy spirit of the frog, and he's just like, "Fuck you!" Like,
and then like the lady there says something like about their record of always being like,
they've got like 100% clearance or something. Yeah.
I saw it too, which I thought was kind of a cool nod. They showed Stockholm, and it looked like the Thing reference. Where it had been destroyed.
And then and Buenos Aires had King Kong.
Yeah, it showed. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I liked that little.
Well, that's what
touch.
this movie does in like the best way is it gives you just a little taste. It's like a sampler. It gives you just a little taste. It doesn't go all in on just about anything until the end. And this is a classic like Joss Whedon kind of move where he like teases like a broader world or or there are things outside. Yes, there's what's going on, but there's also there's other interesting stories happening other places, and it almost makes the story happening here more interesting.
Kind of like Infinity War.
Well, exactly. Like,
oh man. I want to touch on something else because you guys had said about it in the beginning too, about is this an anthology for movies and horror movies in general, right? Where the genre had become stale. And in the movie, they actually have dialogue. Specifically, Marty says, it's time for a change. Dana at the end says, like, let's let somebody else have, I forgot the exact line.
Let's let somebody else have a turn.
Time to give someone else a chance.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I like this idea, and they kept referring to the director, right? The director.
Yeah.
And I
Sigourney Weaver, yeah.
And I almost thought when I first had seen this movie that instead of the ancient ones, because they kept, Stitterson, I think, said, oh, we're not the only ones watching or whatever. I thought it was going to be one of those horror movies that it was being shown to like viewers, like us as the consumers, But I think that could be an anthology for this too. An analogy, not anthology, wrong A word, where the cast is the cast, right? The director is the director of the movie, but you also have Stitterson and Hadley who are controlling the environments and stuff like that,
like a Truman Show kind of thing.
Yeah, and we're the ancient ones. We're the ones that are.
Oh, that's interesting. I saw the ancient ones as like Hollywood studios.
Oh yeah, okay.
Interesting though. Like we had a similar thought.
I thought it was gonna be like Loki, where it's like those kind of three little like people that are sitting on the thrones, like watching everything, making sure like everything's monitored. And then the big like thing was going to be like, yeah, they're giving blood to this kind of beast so it doesn't kill humanity kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like what they did by not showing it and keeping it just like this fiery hand that comes up.
By the way, I love the line at the end too where Marty's like, wish we could have saw him. Or
I wish I could have seen him. I know. That would have been a fun weekend.
Might have been Dana who said it. And then Marty's like, yeah, I know, right? It's like he was like laughing into the camera, like, yeah, I know, right?
I think Marty
really would have
said
made
it.
my weekend.
That was a very Lovecraftian ending. No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No hope. Just the end of humanity.
It sucks too, because I watched like something very similar to it right before, like something like that ended with the world ending kind of thing, and like a whole new world, like because it was like a whole cleanse thing, like the world dies, and then like over a couple more million years, you know, another world with new humans and stuff happens. But it was kind of like, it's kind of depressing for me because I'm like, dude, I just watched something like this, like literally like today, and I like was just like, dude, what the hell is going on? Is the world gonna like explode now?
You know, I hear what you're saying. I think for me, like the ending specifically, I think works for this movie. I'm not always a fan of going with the dark and, you know, no hope ending, but I think for this movie it worked specifically. What'd you think of the ending? Did you guys like it? Bearclaw says he liked it a lot.
I liked it, and I like that there's a finality to it, so they can't make a sequel to this movie. This movie needs to stand on its own. I don't think they should ever make a sequel.
Don't make a
to it.
sequel.
I don't know. You could.
I'll make a sequel.
No sequel. No.
Yeah.
No, there shouldn't be.
Did you like the ending, Dan?
Oh yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have made sense if Marty just died and then like everything was saved, and then Dana would have to like walk through all the monsters again.
You know, that brings a good point though. Should we have been rooting, like, again, back to my original question, should we have been rooting for Dana to kill Marty?
And here's the thing. What they did is that in that entire end of the movie, if you think about it, it's very irresponsible. First thing that they do is when they're in there, they release all of the monsters into the world.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so now you've condemned multiple victims. Like, these things were contained.
That's true.
And now, okay, so it helps you escape, but it also, you know, these things are now into the world.
Yeah.
So you've now done this horrible thing by releasing these terrible evils into the world that were previously contained. And not only that, you're not willing to sacrifice yourself, that Marty, you're not willing to sacrifice yourself for humanity at a whole. You go, oh, well, if they want me dead, then, you know, maybe we should give somebody else a chance. It's like, who elected them? Did anyone ask me that? I don't remember the vote of them deciding whether I should live or die.
I think like I've seen it so many times where it's like one of those like you are humanity kind of things. If like, okay, let's say like
Solipsism.
let's say I still live. I don't know what I would pick. You know, it's kind of hard.
But, I mean, he's not like it's like
hard to
you're
pick.
dead either way.
Yeah, he's dying either way, right?
Yeah, he's either and Sigourney Weaver lays it out. You're either gonna die with humanity or you die for humanity.
Like if it was one of those things where like the world doesn't die but like humanity does, like I don't know what I would pick because I'm just too scared to like.
You are humanity.
No, I mean like, you know,
everyone you love is humanity. Like
just saying, it's hard for him also because he's high as balls still. So
if I may interject, one thing that I think about with the ending, right, is I had no feelings one way or the other, and I almost feel like it was done that way intentionally because reflecting on what they're critiquing. How many of the horror movies from that time period can you honestly say that the endings were at all satisfying or that you cared about them or that you actually were able to process them and get something out of them?
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's intentionally done where like, I don't care how the end result is. I'm just happy to be here. And it's
been about the journey.
Yeah. For me, it's about the journey. Not the destination, but I don't know. Like I feel like the ending feels empty in that respect because I feel like it's a critique on horror movies in general and their endings typically feeling empty or unresolved.
Yeah, I see that. I think too, it's tough because throughout the movie when we're with these characters, right, there's a little bit of character building, but we don't get to see them as their true selves.
It's only enough to develop the archetype.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And it's done too, so we as the audience know, like you said, Logan, the Kurt, he's not the jock. He's the smart nerd guy.
Remember Marty goes on
He's
that
a Gary,
whole tirade.
he's a Gary Sue, in my opinion. Like, he's
Yeah.
smart, athletic,
Yeah.
bookworm.
But he was
I don't know.
supposed to be like, you know, the one of the things that Marty was saying was like, well, Kurt is like, which is I think the character's name. Kurt is like on this academic scholarship. He's like this grade A
Sociology major.
Sociology major.
Yeah, they bring that up.
He's not
Holden
like
does.
somebody that you would expect. Like this entire time, Marty, all of these people are acting totally out of their own character.
Right.
Like,
Right.
And Marty's
Jules,
the only one who recognizes that.
Right. Jules is acting like, very sexually, explicit. And
Kurt is like all masculine,
Yeah.
like alpha bro,
Yes.
and that's not really how he is.
Right.
Like,
Since when does Kurt pull this alpha male bullshit? I mean, he's a sociology major. He's on full academic scholarship, and now he's calling his friend an egghead?
Here's my thing. There's two things I do have to talk about. One, what the hell was with the picture frame?
Picture frame?
Yeah, you remember they were showing the picture frame of like where the mirror, where
The
like, you could
two-sided mirror?
Oh yeah.
that like that was there for like 2 seconds and then they completely like I thought there was gonna be like a whole thing like the next day, like they have like something to go along with that. No, they just left it off with like, okay, it's there. We're gonna look at each other through the mirror.
I think it was a plot device to show that, what's his name? Holden?
Holden's ripped.
Is a good guy.
I had kind of an internal debate about showing you the mirror. Shouting on both sides, blood was spilled.
I also think it gives off
Bland as
like
hell.
this clue that they're being watched too.
Yeah.
This is an interrogation room.
I mean, I liked all the stuff in the cabin too, because I thought it was like a cool setup because they're
Sets you off balance.
and they're showing like different aspects, like because like I said, they set us up with these characters. We know they're archetypes, but they're not that at the beginning, and we see that. And then once we see the transformation take place, then we're all kind of with like watching this happen. And I like how they kind of get and they give little clues as to how they're changing things, like with the pheromones and the hair dye, and they were releasing the gas, right, and things like that.
I got a couple of other like small like little follow-up discussion questions for you guys with that. One is like, did anybody else find themselves like almost at the vantage point of the people betting in the building, like as like a spectator watching it? Are you like
I would have
rooting
loved to
along?
have bet on like a
Not bet it, but I'm saying like, did you like? I felt like I was in that,
Yeah.
like watching along.
Yeah, like you feel like you're in that. And there's a really great if anybody ever wants to play like a game that is just like this, there's Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a board game, which is like you get to play out the scenario in a board game with like a
Is that
random
Lovecraft game we've played before?
Maybe. I'm not sure. There's like 50 or 60 different scenarios you can go, and they're all just like this, like the different monsters.
Oh, okay.
But there's 50 or 60 different scenarios that can happen, and one person ends up being a traitor, but you don't know who that is at the beginning of the game, and like it's just a fantastic board game, but it's just like this. And you find yourself when you're playing that game, you find yourself kind of being like, oh, I wonder what scenario we're going to get. Is it going to be the Wolfman? Is it going to be, somebody turns invisible all of a sudden? And there's that element of like picking that this movie is really good at.
Yeah, we have that. We just haven't played it.
Oh, it's
There's so many
fantastic.
games that we haven't played, but that's one of those games I've been wanting to play for a while.
That's a good time. We should maybe do a live play of it.
Yeah,
That'd
we
be cool.
should.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And then I don't know if there was a killer you guys had to pick to
Molesting True.
This is one of
survive.
the questions I had too.
Like, what would it be?
Which one would you want and which one would you not want?
Oh, molesting tree, not one.
So I have a couple I'm going to list off on what was on the whiteboard.
Okay.
And if you're listening, play at home. What would you prefer to come and try to kill you if you had a choice? Gun to your head, Logan, you have to pick one.
Well, I was about to say, you said I want to, like, I have like a fetish for getting killed.
No. But if you had to choose one, these are just a few.
Gavin.
This is what's on the whiteboard: werewolf, alien beast, mutants, wraiths, zombies, reptilius, clowns, witches, sexy witches. That might be my pick.
Whoa. Different. Very different.
Demons, Helllord, angry molesting tree,
Yep.
giant snake, deadites, Kevin.
So just you.
In this, as soon as I saw Kevin, I was like, what the fuck?
We gotta talk about Kevin.
Listen, what I found on Kevin is, and we never see Kevin in the actual movie, but
Kevin James.
according to the companion book, he is a sweet-looking guy who seemed like he might work at Best Buy until he dismembers people.
So
A little bit different than me, so not me.
it's Kevin James.
Well, and like, have you guys heard of, you know what this list also kind of reminds me of is, like, have you guys ever heard of like that internet thing, the SCPs? SCPs are like, there's this like overarching like Men in Black kind of government agency that manages these like, and they're all over the internet. They're like these horrific beings or like monsters. It would be like the agency that manages and captures these monsters.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of like a Men in Black kind of thing, but it's like a big internet thing because it kind of built and built and built. Like somebody would make up one SCP, somebody would, and like there's different like security protocols and that they have to be kept under Control. That's it. Control is the video game I was thinking of, but like it's very similar to this kind of stuff where like there's these horrors that are being contained.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our audience, if you know about SCPs or anything like that, why don't you write me at thepaddedroom@outlook.com.
Yeah, definitely. Here's just a few more. The Scarecrow Folk, Snowman, Dismemberment Goblins, Sugar Plum Fairy, Merman, The Reanimated, Unicorn, Dolls, Zombie Redneck Torture Family, Jack-O-Lantern, Giant.
Listen, if I'm going to be voluntold, I'm part of a long tradition of blood sacrifice to appease some elder gods, and my choices are everyone dies with me or I die to save everyone, then I'm taking my chances with the sexy witches.
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for all of humanity.
Sure.
And I'd say it's fairly noble cause.
Anything besides the anger molesting tree, I think, like, I don't want to be in a face-off with that thing. Nothing would literally, like...
Doesn't want to be teased with a good time.
I mean, it's just, there's so many others. I mean, Kevin at first was like, oh, okay, but, like, I don't think it'd
you
be...
want Kevin.
I don't think it'd be my dream scenario to be, like...
Well, this isn't your dreams.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There's nothing dream-like about
I was
This
gonna
would actually
say...
may classify as a nightmare
It
scenario.
wouldn't be my dream scenario to be dismembered by
Kevin?
by a dude working at Best Buy. Like, I don't want to do that.
You don't want to be cut up by the Geek Squad?
No.
I think for you, Logan, I'm going to choose Sugar Plum Fairy. She's coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be some pixie bitch.
How about you, Bearclaw? Any
Well,
names?
I think
on
the
list?
one that I would most want to face would be Snowman. I feel like that's very achievable. That's one of the ones.
Like Calvin and Hobbes.
Space heater.
Yeah,
Take care of that
space
fucker real quick.
Space heater, improvised flamethrower. I feel like I could come up. I feel like I might be able to go toe to toe with a Snowman.
You know what?
but-
After seeing the Merman in the movie, I almost want the Merman because
I don't know though. In the water,
Dude,
that thing
he's
could be
okay
a
in the
problem.
water.
On land, though, I
Yeah.
feel like you got a fighting chance.
right,
Yeah.
right. That thing's slow as fuck, man.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's gross. It
It
looks
is
like
gross.
it looks
The
like
cleanup's
Harvey
a mess.
Weinstein.
I think the one I would least want to do is probably Sexy Witches. Here's why though.
Go on.
Here's why.
Me and Dan are like, what?
You got to think about the worst case scenario here. Where are these witches going to lead you to, and what are they going to try and take from you?
I'm dead either way, man.
Yeah, I know you're dead either way,
They're
but
witches.
one day you may be dead with certain anatomy attached, and one way you might be dead without certain
Oh my
anatomy
God.
attached.
Can I sign like an agreement clause? Like, hey, you can't
I
take.
feel
off.
like there's not a lot of contracting that's going
not a lot
on
of wiggle
this
room
one.
in that.
In the actual movie, what did you think was like the scariest that we saw on screen of the
the
monsters?
clown.
Oh.
I think, the clown's a good one.
The clown.
I don't know. The
I hate
robot
freaking
chainsaw
clowns.
monster was pretty because, like, what do you do against that? Like the scorpion chainsaw yellow monster,
The little
that was,
guy?
like, he
Going down the stairs, the battle bot?
the battle bot,
Battlebot, yeah.
thing, yeah. He was not on this list.
I feel like the ballerina was the most calm one.
For me, I would say the Wraith. I don't know why. I just feel like the Wraith character, the whipping around spirit there would be like too much of a pain in the ass to even deal with. I'd be dead instantly.
There was like something that was going on in the
I think that
background.
might have been the Wraith.
Was it the Wraith?
Yeah.
That might be number 2 for me. That would be the worst way to go, having your soul getting taken.
What about the dismemberment goblins?
I wish we saw those.
We did.
We did?
Yeah, they were in there. Yeah, they looked like little devil-like creatures.
I don't remember.
Were they like a background character, or were they
They like
featured?
came through. They did a little bit of stuff. I believe I read that they cut a lot of their scenes out, but you do get to see them. I don't think you get to see them really kill. You might in the monitors, because there's some kills that happen in those monitors, and they're hard to really see.
That werewolf was a bitch.
Yeah, the werewolf. Yeah, for me, it's got to be the giant snake, because that thing.
Yeah, that thing is. I love the scene where the scarecrow guy just hucks one of the staff off the thing, and the snake just.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
It was hard to watch, that whole scene of like the monsters coming through.
That was my favorite part.
Why didn't the monsters turn on each other?
Right? It's a good question.
I mean, they were all like ancient.
They probably
evil.
did afterwards because there were no security guys to go.
Did you guys see Fornicus, the Lord of Bondage and Pain?
Which one was that?
Hellraiser?
Was that the
The guy that
Hellraiser?
looked like Pinhead, yeah.
Saw blades in his.
Yeah, he looks like Pinhead. He had a very similar trinket.
He also looked like Robert Saleh.
He did. The New York Jets head coach.
Yep, he does.
I thought that was a cool scene too.
A poor guy.
First, I like when they're hanging out in the living room of the cabin and the basement door just swings open. And
Evil Dead.
Yeah, it reminded me of Evil Dead, and there are some Evil Dead references with
Keep that in
angry,
mind.
molesting.
And I like how they say like, no, we got to make stuff happen, but there's certain points where they have to choose, but for the most part, we make things happen.
Yeah, we rig the game as much as we need to.
Yeah, because they control the environment, and then once they get down in the basement, they have all those trinkets to kind of choose from, and your eyes are like, you're going over. I really wish we had seen more of this and going through some of the different trinkets and then kind of piecing together, because really, we saw some bigger ones with the music box.
Yeah.
Obviously, she reads the diary with the what is their names? I know it's the zombie redneck torture family.
Oh, the
there's
Buckmans.
patience.
Buckmans. Yeah. What's that?
Well, I mean, yeah, they don't have real names. But,
Buckners. Okay, yeah. Because he's like, wait,
no, they all had
the
names. There was like Jonah Buckner.
Yeah, well, no one really cared for the names. They're just zombies.
You know what? That reminds me too. I mean, this seems like the Buckners' home field, the cabin, because one of the rooms in the basement, was the black room.
Painting was of the Buckners.
Well, they had
patience. I didn't realize that.
They take down from the walls from
That's
the Buckners.
what it is.
Yeah.
They used to live in
came
the
back.
cabin.
I didn't realize that. I mean, they had Patience come in, and dude,
Patience was.
Oh my god, that was one of the funniest scenes in the movie when she gets clotheslined by Chris Hemsworth.
Boom.
I like how she
We
turned
laughed
around.
so hard, dude. Oh my god.
Zombies
so
would be
funny.
one of the things that I would most be okay with facing. I feel like as long as you're not overwhelmed by
I love
them.
how when he clotheslined her and then she looks back at him.
She's on the ground, like looking back, like, what the hell hit me?
I also love when she acts as the director, and then Marty just kicks the director's corpse, and she just goes over with it. Like she just doesn't let go of the axe. She just chooses to hold on to that axe.
What did you think of Sigourney Weaver playing?
Nah, it wasn't enough.
Pleasant surprise, but I mean, like, nothing.
I
like,
wish we got more. I really wish
there.
we got more.
I mean, I will say this. I'll pretty much do whatever Sigourney Weaver tells me to.
Yeah.
She is in my mind, from a very young age, she is a picture of female authority. Like,
I saw this on another podcast, I believe, and I don't know if I believe this per se, but they were saying that the roles that these kids had to play were actually also played by the people in the office area as well.
Wow.
Hadley is the fool. Sitterson is the whore.
Huh. He is kind of a whore.
Truman, who played the security guard, is the jock. Jill is the scholar. And Sigourney Weaver, the director, is the final girl.
No.
That seems like a stretch.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch. I didn't get that from the.
I feel like
security
you could
guy.
put that. Yeah, like I feel on that. Yeah,
How is Sitterson a whore?
Because he had a comment like Jill was reading something. Did you want to? What was it? Did you want to put something orally? Yeah, and he's like,
Do you want it in or do you want it orally?
or do you want it orally?
Yeah,
and he was like,
could you say it
say
slow?
that slower to me.
Do we pipe it in, or do you want to do it orally?
Ask me that again, only slower.
You're a pig.
Yeah, but like he's just an old man.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah, I mean,
feel like
I-
that's just
I-
him being an old fuck. I don't know.
I don't really believe this analogy, but what I liked about it was Sigourney Weaver plays the role of the final girl, and
Well, yeah.
I mean, she is Ripley. I mean, she is
Right.
one of my favorite final girls for sure. I mean, in the Alien movies and stuff. I mean, she is awesome in all of the Alien movies.
I don't know. I just seeing Sigourney Weaver was like that additional to me, like whoa moment at the
I
end.
wish they had developed that character a little more, but it was all right with her coming in at the end. They had to do what they had to do. I get that, but it would have been cool to know like how does I don't know, but that's what this movie does is it draws you in. You want to know more, but that's part of the magic. And if you knew everything, I think the movie would lose a lot of its luster. I like the questions unanswered.
Yeah.
Leaves room for imagination.
You don't need everything answered either. I really wanted more Sigourney Weaver. Once I found out she was Sigourney Weaver,
Yeah.
I was like, man, why didn't you have her in this?
I kind of like too that they play on the trope of Marty being the stoner, and usually stoners in horror movies are like the easiest one to kill.
Right.
They don't have any idea what's going on.
Aloof.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this one, he is really in tune with everything going on. He's correct the whole time. He's
whole
right.
time.
the puppet
scene.
master.
Yeah. Pop-Tart?
Puppeteers.
Puppeteers?
Pop-Tarts? Did you say you have Pop-Tarts?
Yeah.
Dude, from the first scene, I knew he was going to be the best character.
When he just shows up with like the bong that goes into a coffee
Cops
mug.
won't pull over a guy with a big bomb.
Statistical fact. Cops will never pull over a man with a huge bong.
I think we're on to hook, line, or stinker. Now, our hook is our favorite kill in the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote from the movie. And a stinker is something that happens in the movie that is weird, awful, or funny that sometimes makes the movie worse or better.
Usually worse.
My hook, I got to go with Jules getting the saw by the Buckner family.
Oh, that is
pretty
good.
gnarly.
We didn't see it, but it looked.
Yeah, I think just how it plays out though, where they first stab her in the hand
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
in the woods there, and then they have Kurt like tied
Watch.
And
back.
they make him watch.
They make him watch as that big saw. Just I like the camera work as the big saw goes right across her face. Ugh.
Very dramatic.
Yeah, and then of course who was the big Buckner there that threw
Jonah Buckner.
he had her head.
Yeah,
he tosses it in. Oh my god.
The Buckners were such a good villain because they were kind of bland and they didn't draw away from the other stuff that was happening in the movie. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want a killer that was too charismatic because I feel like that would detract from some of the other aspects of the movie.
Yeah, or too like just supernatural crazy, like a giant snake, something like that would have made it a different sort of payoff, I think. My lines, I like the dialogue between Stitterson and Hadley, where Stitterson says,
Oh man, I'm sorry.
He had the conch in his
Oh,
hands.
in a couple more minutes, who knows what might have happened.
couple more minutes, who knows what might have happened.
Just like really consoling him. Just two great actors sitting there talking like really like who knows what could have gone any way you want. He had, you know.
Right. And then he's like, I'm never going to see a merman ever. And Stitterson's like, dude, be thankful. Those things are terrifying. And the cleanup on them is a nightmare. Just like matter of fact. You're right. It was like consoling somebody.
And it was funny when they were taking a bet and he was like, you know, the maintenance guys, they bet on the Buckners every year. And he's like,
You should talk, Aquaman.
like, it's like, what's that supposed to mean?
Thought it was kind of poetic that the merman ends up killing him in the end. My stinker is the scene where Jules makes out with, according to Marty the moose, he dares her to go make out with the moose, and they're like, have you ever seen a moose before? And then Marty goes, whatever that mysterious beast is. And everyone's like, that's a wolf.
I'm going to say this. I do have it written down here if you want me to read it out loud for you, because I think it's pretty good.
All right.
Marty. Okay, my turn. Jules. Truth or dare? Jules. Let's go dare. Marty. All right. I dare you to make out with Kurt. Please say Dana. Please say Dana. Please say Dana. Marty. That moose over there. Dana. Marty, have you ever seen a moose before? Marty, whatever that mysterious beast is. Kurt, that's a wolf. Holden, that's clearly a wolf. But it's just funny.
Yeah, it was a funny thing. And then seeing her make out with the wolf was, I don't know, confusing.
Marty's reaction to it was so funny.
I think we all were watching it the same way. Like,
I didn't know I was into this.
Am I a furry?
Dan, how about you?
I mean, come on. It's Hadley's death. The tease of it earlier with his morbid curiosity with the merman, and then he gets a very up close and personal experience with it. The creature design on that thing was great, and I love Hadley's blood spurting out of the blowhole. It's a great gore gag. I mean, and then he's like, "Oh, come on!" Like, it's great line.
Mordecai, baby, what's happening? How's the weather up top?
Just that whole dialogue where the harbinger is on the speakerphone is so funny.
Cleanse them. Cleanse the world of their ignorance and sin. Bathe them in the crimson of... Am I on speakerphone?
I love those scenes with the harbinger too.
Oh yeah,
where they're just giving
with
him
Marty.
Yeah, Marty's like, oh, I heard the railroad's coming through.
Well, good luck with your business, sir. I know the railroad's coming through here any day now. That's gonna be big.
What war? You know what war.
You know what, dude? This reminds me of also that analogy of the Office characters being also the archetypes for the ancient ones as the fool and stuff. This person on their podcast also said the harbinger, when he calls in, also warns them as well.
Oh, that's a good pickup.
So
because he does.
Yeah, so that leans into their theory, I guess.
Yeah.
And then my stinker is, it's not even really a stinker. It's just, I wanted to see more of those creatures unleashed on the facility. Just, if I could have just gotten an extended cut of that, that would just make me that much more happier.
And they said there was a bunch of footage, I guess, cut out with the different monsters. Like I said, more goblins and things like that. So that would.
I gotta find an extended cut.
Yeah.
I don't get why they cut that. That would have been awesome. Want me some dismembering goblins.
Bearclaw, how about you?
All right, so for me, my hook was I like the merman death. Just Hadley looking at him, just like Dan was saying, just Hadley looking at him and going,
Oh, come on.
oh, come on. Like, I thought that was excellent. I also really liked an honorable mention to the trap on the chain via the Buckners, where he had the bear trap on the chain and was like throwing it into that girl's back. And like,
you know what? I was thinking that too. I was thinking, wow, man, this is a cool weapon in horror.
Yeah.
We just did the burning review, and we were all kind of
a pretty lame weapon, like the shears.
Like, the shears.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can make good, like, especially when you've got a caretaker of a camp, you've got such an arsenal. Like, look at all the Buckners. One of them used a trowel. One of them used like a
saw.
Like a saw. One of them used.
Dude, that
there's
long.
So many options.
That
and you
long
choose
knife
like,
they had too. Was
yeah.
like, oh my god,
that was cool.
So many tools for activities.
So many tools for activities, and you chose the hedge clippers. Like,
Patient definitely had the worst one there. She just had a freaking axe.
But yeah,
even that's better than.
But she only had
shears.
one arm though, too. You know,
Yeah.
so. But then my favorite line is again Sitterson just going off about, no, they have to make the choice of their own free will, otherwise the system doesn't work. It's like the Harbinger. It's this creepy old fuck practically wears a sign, "You will die." Like, just him explaining that. Anytime that Richard Jenkins is like explaining something like emphatically, I think it's like one of the funniest things. He's just such a good actor. And then, one of the things that I thought kind of grounded things and a line that I thought was pretty good was kind of the quiet prayer that Sitterson has there, where he says,
"This we offer in humility and fear, for the blessed peace of your eternal slumber, as it ever was."
As it ever was.
I thought that was an interesting moment of like kind of really assessing the stakes that like this is a serious thing that's going on. Yes, there's a lot of juvenile behavior around it, but a lot of that is to like cover up the severity of what has to happen. And of course there's the scene with Sitterson and when the Japanese girls are they banish the demon and it's like that scene will forever live in my mind as like one of the funniest scenes in all of movies. Just him just so angry looking at these little girls who have, they were being terrorized in that classroom before by that like demon like that was sitting out there, and then they managed to like band together. There's 0 fatalities and like they sing this really nice song and it turns into a frog, and he's just so angry about that, and I love that with all of my heart. And then the stinker was, and strangely, it's nothing in this movie that is the stinker. It's all of the movies that caused this movie to be made, because during that time in horror, things were really quite dark. I mean, original properties were like non-existent. I feel like people weren't experimenting. I mean, I'm sure that you can find experimental horror movies, but I mean, those weren't things that you couldn't find
successful.
Yeah, you couldn't. It was very difficult to find those rare gems at that time, because what was being turned out was very formulaic, very
Saw 3D.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff like that, like deep sequels. So I think this was a call to originality. So I think my stinker for this movie is all of the movies that caused this movie to be made.
I think that's a great point, that this, like we said at the beginning, this seemed like it was that taking off point, and maybe it did really change the way that at least horror movies kind of were portrayed and given a chance, like you said, showcased, and more original horror came from this. Logan, how about you?
I have kind of a new one. Holden impaled through the neck. Wasn't seeing it happen. Didn't see it.
That was a good one.
I really liked it because I don't really get jump scared as much, but that definitely got me where I wasn't expecting it. Like, maybe a little bit. Like, I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't think he was in the van with them. Like, I thought something was going to hit them, or, like, something was going to come into the van's way, but I didn't think he was with them in the van. So it was very, like, interesting to see. But, yeah, either that or Hadley, because I really like the Merman, like, payoff kill. It's pretty well done.
Yeah.
For a line, I do have the... Yeah, I want you to make out with that wolf. That moose. That's a wolf. But my other one that I do really like is Marty's line of, statistical fact, cops will never pull over a man with a huge bong in his car. Just like a nice little joke there. And that's his first line. From there on out, I was into that guy. He was awesome.
I think he also locked the door to his car, but his window was open.
Yeah.
It was meant to show that he's like he's not the most responsible one, but the only one who managed to pick up what was going on.
My other line, though, that's my favorite is...
Oh, these fucking zombies. Remember when you could just throw a girl in a volcano?
How old do you think I am?
How old do you think I am?
I think that was a good line, though, too, because that gave us an insight into this is a sacrifice idea or a ritual. Because how many times has it been portrayed in movies with a girl going into the volcano, right, and thrown in for...
I mean, even if Marty did die at the end, it would just repeat. It would be a cycle.
Can I say one of my favorite things about Sitterson and Hadley was their short sleeve dress shirts?
You like those?
Yeah.
I think that so perfectly captures that character that they are trying to portray, that wardrobe choice. That so perfectly just I can't get it. It just captures, because you know that those two characters would be wearing short sleeve, and there is a little bit of judgment in my voice, because if you're wearing a dress shirt and a tie, you should wear the sleeves like a gentleman, like an adult. Like,
do we have any honorable mentions at all?
I will say that my honorable kill mention is Kurt's death.
Oh, where he took the bike and hit the force field. Yeah,
but like just the long ass monologue before it.
Yeah,
and then
it was such a hopeful moment too.
Yes, yes, and I feel like it really like lathered on the whole idea of him being like a Gary Sue, because he's just like, I know, and then the next thing you know, he pulls out this fucking dirt bike out of nowhere, like he just magically materializes and he's on it. And he gives this long ass fucking speech.
If you guys, you stay in the Rambler, I'll get help. If I wipe out, I'll fucking limp for help. But I'm coming back here. I'm coming back with cops and choppers and large fucking guns, and those things are gonna pay.
And then Holden's like, don't hold back. And then he's like, I never do.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just eat shit right in the
I love how the scene too drags on, where we follow his body.
Yeah,
like that was dark, man.
Like most movies just cut away. Like we know he's dead. This movie's like,
this
nope.
movie like shows him like sliding down the glass and going on, which is beautiful. That's why this movie just hits all of those notes so on the head. That's what I love about it.
I have two honorable mentions, actually. I have a line where Marty and Dana escape the elevator cell and they have a cop on them, right? And then the zombie arm grabs the cop, and then they beat up the cop and they escape, and Marty's like, good work, zombie arm. Likes that. My stinker, though, for my honorable mentions is Marty not being dead, and them not like
he looks pretty dead. Like he got like a trowel to the back. Like,
well, here's the thing too. They were monitoring all their levels, right?
Like their heart rate and all that other shit.
Yeah.
So wouldn't they see on the screen?
They gave up.
You're right. They had pride and they were a little cocky.
Yeah.
And they started the party early. You're right.
Well, and notice when they tried to activate the fool lever or whatever, that was when there was that big like earthquake, because the god knew that he wasn't dead.
Oh, good pickup.
So he didn't.
Yeah, because they said like, they're really excited. Or
I didn't.
something.
I didn't catch that.
Like there was a violation of procedure.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I had another line mention as well. Husband
bulge.
Husband bulge.
He's got the husband bulge.
I like when Marty walks by and he's going outside for a walk and he's like,
He's got a husband bulge.
he's got the husband bulge.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even give my stinker. I'm going to go with Holden being cannon fodder. He is bland as ever.
Oh,
he is the worst character in this freaking movie because he gives nothing.
He is fairly a weak
like,
character.
what does he do though? Like, he doesn't do anything. He's not really like, oh yeah, he's really into the
He's
other
also like
chick.
the odd man out of the group. Everyone else kind of knows each other and he doesn't. So he kind of puts him in that position by default.
I like how him and Dana have like this weird like tension, like, oh yeah, you know, they like each other, but then it's like, oh man, he's so boring. He's just so like, he's so bland though. That's the thing. They made it like,
I think that's kind of the expectation, and like towards the end he gains a little bit of color when he's talking with her and he's like, I need you to be strong for me right now, and like you kind of see him starting to develop as a character,
and then he got
but
killed.
Then that's kind of perfect because then he gets killed right away, you know, like
they're like, we're not gonna make this character any
we're
better.
like, oh, you guys wanted him to be interesting, didn't you? Slam. Like,
you don't get to.
Gotta subvert the
I'm
expectations.
okay with that. Holden sucked.
Well, we're on to our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. What will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between. What was that?
Now, our final rating system is Killer, where the movie was awesome. It is a must-watch. We highly recommend it. We have our middle tier, which is Survivor. It was okay. We would probably recommend it and has some rewatchability. Then we have the dreaded victim rating, where we were all the victims in watching the movie. It was not good. We would not recommend this, and it has no rewatchability. For me, The Cabin in the Woods is a killer. I think this is original. It's fun. It's an easy watch. I mean, it's only like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's goes by so good.
And
it pays so well.
It keeps its tempo.
Yeah,
I will
100%.
say I do like that we watch a lot of horror movies that are very quick, because I don't like when horror movies drag out. But this was so perfect. The timing of it was perfect.
Yeah, I think the kills were great. I think there was just enough amount of gore. There was obviously the scene where all the monsters and stuff kept coming out the elevators. Obviously, that was all amped up, but I thought it was justified in what they did.
Oh, like Goosebumps.
There was some Goosebumps elements to it. I mean, again, it's just such an original horror movie in this time that there wasn't many original horror movies. And, and I think this is one of those that just stands out above the rest. So that's why I'm rating it a killer. Dan, how about you?
This is a 5-star killer for me. I love this movie. It's fun, doesn't take itself too seriously. It's unique in its story with charming characters. And I feel like if you're going to make a character be devoid of any depth, at least make them likable, interesting, and entertaining. And this movie does that well. I conceptualize this movie as every horror movie scenario is real, and it's part of this elaborate ritual to appease the elder gods who establish all the rules. It has this allegorical vibe to it that criticizes the nature of the business itself, and that a good portion of the mid-2000s consisted of remakes and franchising IPs for annual release. To me, The Cabin in the Woods sticks out as a turning point in the direction of horror. I don't think it has had any strong influence on the genre per se, but serves as one of the market indicators for the direction horror was going with its success. Away from repackaging old IPs and wrapping up franchise series to make way for a new, more elevated version of horror.
Very well said.
Yeah. All right, Bearclaw.
So I'm gonna do nothing different here. I'm gonna rate this as killer because it's one of my favorite movies, just period. But it's definitely one of my favorite horror movies. It is what I would consider to be a very astute criticism of a lot of the movies that had come before, a lot of the procedure that had taken hold in something that should not be procedural. And I just think it's a fun movie. It ends perfectly by not trying to create like a multiverse of characters and things. So I just think it is just an all-around great movie worth watching. I'd recommend it to anybody who'd listen to me talk about it, and it's a killer.
Logan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the killer. We got all killer.
No filler.
Yep. I'm going to rate this to Survivor now. No, I'm just kidding. This is a killer. This is a great movie. It's so entertaining. All the characters are lovely except for Holden. But even he has a good moment at the very end, like Bearclaw said. It was very ironic that they made it like that. I love that. It's just so, it's such a punch to, to the viewers. You're not going to see this evolve. But no, it's so fun. Every character kind of just has this kind of different story attached. It feels like very much what you said, Bearclaw, about Joss Whedon has this kind of thing of setting up different stories and making them attached to one. Because every single character has different motives, different means, different just a different story altogether. But how they combine them so perfectly is very well done. Even very minor characters just getting some screen time. I love the little comedy bits they got, the intern bit. It was so much fun. It's so small, but it's so it's so funny. Sigourney Weaver being the director is fitting. We don't see too much of her, but it was still cool to see an icon there. Just a really fun movie overall. It's one of our best, I think.
Well, that brings me to Nathan, our producer, and his rating. The anticipation is killing me.
I am excited.
Will this be a total killer? Nathan said, The Cabin in the Woods is brilliant and biting satire of what horror and the slasher genre had become in the 2000s. I watched it the day after we filmed our Straitjacket Talk review of Friday the 13th.
Editor's note, Friday the 13th, 2009.
And Cabin in the Woods roasts that movie so hard that it made me want to retroactively lower my score. Killer.
Yeah, we got an all killer.
Total killer. Woo! The Cabin in the Woods joins Reanimator from 1985 and Black Christmas 1974 as our only total killer rated
Strong list,
movies.
though.
Yeah,
Strong list.
strong
Good
list.
company.
Yeah.
Now, we also asked our audience what your thoughts were on The Cabin in the Woods. So let's check our Instagram account, and that's at mouths.of.madness. This is from the Hellraisers pod. Fucking love it. It was our first episode. Awesome. Yeah, go check them out and see what they had to say of The Cabin in the Woods. Next, from Thrift Store Archaeologist. I love this movie. The meta and comedy sprinkled in is a perfect ratio for me. Vampiro Cubage.
What a name.
I
love
apologize.
it.
I'm no good
I
at
love
names.
it. No, that's my favorite.
Great movie. Fun watch. Nice, short, right to the point. Dirty _D_937. I thought it was a very fresh take on a classic idea. Yes.
Yeah.
Jack WB _1955. Very fun. Yep, it was. My Little Slice of Hell. It's a love letter to horror. Yeah, I think it is, because there is
Definitely.
some homages too in that.
That's kind of the nice thing about it is it's satire, but at the same time you can tell it's that somebody loved it too. You know, it's not like it's not like saying, oh, well, horror's lame. It's saying like, hey, this is horror right now, but maybe it's a little procedural. Maybe we need to
change things up
a little bit.
100%.
But with love. That's like constructive criticism.
Yes.
I love that username too.
Yeah. We have K Lampy 5678. Fun. Yeah, right to the point. We have another comment from Thrift Store Archaeologist. This one usually makes my October or pre-October rewatch list because it hits so many different marks. I really like the comedy and homage aspects that tie everything together. Might not be for everybody, but it sure does the trick for me. Horror _Harley. It's a killer. Ooh.
Damn right it is.
Oh, we got an honorary killer.
Modern Monstrous, friend of the podcast. This movie is a brilliant masterpiece. It cleverly handles several horror tropes with all the nods to classic horror villains and then taking into account the differences in cultures, like I love the Tokyo take. And if you look at all horror as if it exists in the same universe, it puts characters' stupid behavior into a whole different context. Also, killer rating, obviously.
We got a 7 now.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of killers on this one. Melanie _St. George. I hated this movie.
Oh.
No!
Melanie.
Whoa.
No, that's okay.
Melanie, you're breaking my heart.
No, I think somebody
Melanie, you're
could make
breaking my
a
heart.
case for not liking this movie. I could see it, but I don't know what it would.
Hey, listen, sometimes all these movies are not for
There's got to
everybody.
be, I would like to hear somebody really take this movie down because I have such a deep love for it. It would be difficult for me to see.
Yeah, right
And
to Bearclaw.
And hearing other perspectives is important. So
Right.
please, if you don't like this movie, be counted. Talk to me at the padded room at outlook.com. I want to hear about why this isn't a great movie because I want to hear I want to sharpen my own opinion by hearing yours.
We have one last comment from Hellraisers Pod. We loved it. They should make more based off the whiteboard and other countries' failures. Also, possibly the biggest body count since it's the whole world. Oh, fair point.
Yeah.
True. And I hadn't thought about that. And then there's the other aspect of, well, think about John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, because each one of those end with the whole world dying. Or, The Thing, The Prince of Darkness, and what's the other one? They Live. Those three are called, Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouths of Madness.
In the Mouths of Madness. Those are called the
our
Apocalypse
name.
trilogy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of them, supposedly humanity is wiped out.
Oh, that makes sense.
We got to see who takes the cake for the most body count in a movie.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, that does it for our review on The Cabin in the Woods. But we'll be back soon with another... Wait a minute. The lights just went out.
What the?
Hold on.
I don't like this.
Wait a minute. Oh, the door just swung open. What is that?
Oh, okay.
See? Is that a figure?
Uh-oh.
Kevin, I told you I didn't want to play hockey, man.
Oh my God. Hang on. It can't be. We better get out of here. We'll be back soon.
I'm liking it.
Gotta get out of here. Gotta go.
With our review on Friday the 13th. But until then, back to the pad room with ya. Let's get out of here.
The truck tires are...
Welcome back to the Midnight Hour. We have a late night caller here. Dan, what's going on?
Took like a 5-minute piss and it burnt.
Oh no.
Oh no.
This is Loveline, right?
Yeah. Weird call, Dan.